Welcome, everyone. This is a special National Citizens Alliance live presentation. I'm Stephen Garvey, founder and leader of the National Citizens Alliance. Tonight, I'm going to go into foreign aid, and also I'm going to talk about the equalization payout scheme. And we're going to look at the issues with both of these two areas and then present the National Citizens Alliance solutions. And I'm just going to check something here before we start. Yes, I'm back here and we're going to get started. Sorry about that delay. This is new technology we are using, and this is only our second time using it. So I just want to bring everyone up to date on the declaration forms that we are collecting. And we will be releasing a video probably within the next week to update everyone further on it. But as of right now, we're planning to submit to Elections Canada on August 31st. So we're asking everyone to make sure you mail your declaration form in. So the more we submit to Elections Canada, the less likelihood that they can deny us. So everyone, please take this seriously. And if you have any questions about this, you need the form, just call us at 1-833-822-8330, or you can email us at info@nationalcitizensalliance.ca. And thank you very much for helping. You know, the NCA is totally dependent on the support of the Canadian people. Without the support of the Canadian people, we are nothing. So we're receiving donations, we're getting a lot of volunteers, we're getting more members, but we're going to need a lot more to take on the entrenched globalist parties in Ottawa, who are trying to raise millions right now. In order for us to compete with them, we need a lot of Canadian people getting behind us. And remember, for us, it's all about you, your children, our future, your children's future. That's what it's about, and that's what we're working for. We're non-career politicians, we're non-establishment, and we oppose this insane globalist agenda that is destroying our country that we love so much. So please get behind us, and remember, donate, volunteer, become a member, run in 2019. So I'm going to dig today a bit deeper into foreign aid. And the purpose of tonight is to provide you, the Canadian people, with the facts so you can make the best decisions. Another thing we will do is provide our solutions to what's going on. So I did a broadcast a bit earlier, it was about a week ago, on foreign aid, but I'm going to dig a little deeper today just to help bring everyone up to speed. So I'm going to look at the overall foreign aid since 2009, and the important thing to remember is that the foreign aid, this is an outflow of tax dollars to foreign countries, and it doesn't matter whether it's this government or the previous government, they're all doing the same thing. Just remember that. It's not just this government, and that's what the facts show, everyone. So we'll start in 2009. There was 5.45 billion of your tax dollars dispersed overseas. 5.45 billion. In 2010, there was 5.35 billion of your tax dollars. In 2011, there was 5.72 billion of your tax dollars dispersed overseas to countries all around the world. And in 2012, there was 5.7 billion. 5.7 billion, everyone. And then in 2013, 5.48 billion. And now in 2014, there was 4.9 billion. And then in 2015, the last year of the Harper regime, there was a record-setting 5.842 billion, everyone. 5.842 of your tax dollars. You had no say about this money. It was dispersed overseas. Who's it going to, everyone? Whose pockets is it filling? What payback is there? What kickbacks were there? We don't know. Now we get to this current government. In 2016, there was 5.4 billion dispersed of your tax dollars overseas. And in 2017, there was 5.6 billion of your tax dollars overseas. And you can see by the numbers is that actually the Harper regime was sending more of your tax dollars overseas. So our point is that these two big parties, globalist parties, are just flip sides of the same coin. So, and in 2015, it was 5.842 billion, everyone. And look at 2011, 5.72. So just remember that. I'm going to go into specifics here. So we're going to look at 2017. And these were some of the largest recipients of your tax dollars. Afghanistan, 233 million. Ethiopia, 193 million of your tax dollars. Jordan, 157 million of your tax dollars. Haiti, 127 million. Mali, 126 million of your tax dollars. And just to put this in context, the Palestinian admin areas, 50.9 million of your tax dollars. And that was 2017. And that's just a small sample of your money being dispersed overseas, everyone. Now, if we look at the previous government, the Harper regime, in 2011, there was Haiti, 353.8 million of your tax dollars. Afghanistan, 301.7 million of your tax dollars. Ethiopia, 176.6 of your tax dollars. Pakistan, 166.7 million of your tax dollars. Tanzania, 157.8 million. Mozambique, 144.6 million of your tax dollars. And to look at the Palestinian admin areas under Harper, in 2011, 78.2 million of your tax dollars was sent to Palestine. You know what's really concerning too is in 2017, there was over 752 billion bilateral unspecified. And that means we don't know where this money is going, but we do know it's going to foreign countries, foreign entities. But it's not disclosed. And that's $750 million in 2017 dispersed of your money. And in 2011, there was 1.148 billion of your tax dollars dispersed bilateral unspecified. That means it's basically secret, everyone. Your tax dollars secretly sent overseas. And this is the foreign aid is a good example of the global world order. In our opinion, these establishment parties are just string to that. They conform to the global world order. They support the global world order. They even say they support the 2030 UN Sustainable Development. They're even saying that on the government website. I'm going to get more into the UN. But, you know, our issue with this, everyone, Our issue with this is plain and simple. We have no problem helping other people. That's not the issue here. There's a lot of needy people in this world. But the bottom line is there's a lot of Canadians that are in true need. And we need to help our own people first. So that's our issue. There's over a quarter of our population. That's over 8 million Canadians that are living close to poverty, in poverty. There's close to 700,000 seniors in poverty or living close to poverty. This is all wrong. There's at least 3,000 veterans who live on the streets in Canada. There's over 2,500 veterans with PTSD. And these are only some of the issues. Another one is our youth. They are burdened with student debts. And right now there's around 28 billion owed by students to loans and that. They're just burdened. It's impacting their lives. Yet we're sending all this money overseas. It does not make sense. So what the National Citizens Alliance will do, we will cut this foreign aid by at least 75% until our people are taken care of. Another thing, and that will save us, everyone, on average, about $4.2 billion a year. $4.2 billion a year. And we will use that savings to help our veterans and our seniors. That's our commitment to you. So I'm going to shift now. I want to look at this United Nations. And it's outrageous the amount of money, tax dollars, that are going to the United Nations and affiliated organizations. So, but before I do that, I just want to I want to show you some data I have. Just give me a second here to put this in context. So I'm just going to go back up here. Just bear with me. Okay, I got some data here. And I just want to I want to help inform everyone. So here we have a chart, a graph here, and it's showing the disbursement of foreign aid in Canada. And if you look at 2001 here, everyone, where the cursor is, look at that. Look at that. It was 2.96 million total. And look here how the graph goes up over the years. It's just climbing. You know, meanwhile, we're sinking further in debt as a country. This is incompetence. This is irresponsible of these establishment parties. And then look here in 2009, under the Harper regime, it jumps, look at that, to 5.45 million. You see that, everyone? And then back in 2001, it was under 3 million. And then if you look at the graph, it just continues along, and you can see that the current government is just consistent with the Harper regime. That's why we say there's no difference between those two parties and the other parties in Ottawa. They're just conforming to the global world order. They're putting our people last. Look at that. The graph just says it all there, everyone. Look at that disbursement. And here, look at this chart. You can see all our tax dollars just getting spread all over the world. Look at that, everyone. It's like we're a world charity, eh? Look at that. Oh, and whose pockets is this money going into? There's Jordan, 157 million. Look at that. Lebanon, 85.6. And that's only, what year is it? This is only for 2017. Syria, 122 million. Look at that. Iraq, 102 million. Ukraine, 58.9. What's over here? Haiti, 126 million. Colombia, 66.7. Peru and Mali, 125.6. So you get the picture. This is what's happening with your money, everyone, while a lot of our Canadians are struggling. We do not accept this agenda. So I'm just going to go back here. So now we're going to shift, everyone. I want to talk about the UN now. And I think a lot of people are informed on it, but I just want to give you the facts on what is going on. And I should just say at the preface, when the UN started, 1949, there was good intentions behind it, but in our opinion, it has lost its way. It has become an amoral institution, a highly bureaucratic, top-down institution. It is part of the global world order. The National Citizens Alliance believes we should withdraw all our voluntary funding from the UN. And if the Canadian people want us to pull out of the UN, we will do it. We're not sure if that's the best decision. We don't want to isolate Canada. But at minimum, the National Citizens Alliance supports pulling back from the UN. And this peacekeeping, too, is putting our troops in unnecessary harm's way. That's something we don't support. And I encourage people to look up, I think it was in 1991-92, Restore Freedom, I believe, or Restore Hope. And that was in Africa, Somalia. And oh my God, there was a huge cover-up with our veterans. Many of them came back sick from a malaria drug that was not that has long-term side effects, and that was covered up for quite a long time. And you know, we believe the government is just pandering to the UN, pandering to try and get a non-veto seat on the Security Council. It does not make sense. That's why they're putting our troops in harm's way. National Citizens Alliance will never ever put our troops in unnecessary harm's way, ever. So let's look at the funding now. I want people to understand how much money is being funneled of your money to the UN. And it doesn't matter whether it's the current government, the previous government, they're just doing the same. So everyone, just to understand, there is a regular budget with the UN. We're paying around 1.8 million every 2 years. And that was the commitment from 2016 to 2018. In order to be a member state in the UN, you have to pay a certain percentage to the regular budget. In January 2018, Canada made an installment of 71 million to this regular budget. Another thing is UNESCO, which is an offshoot of the UN, which is part of the UN, and the previous government kept its funding at 10 million funding in 2011, even though UNESCO recognized the Palestinian state. And the US actually withdrew all its funding in 2011, but the previous government decided not to, and we still fund UNESCO, everyone. And this is very troubling. I'm going to read what UNESCO is about, everyone. The actual meaning of UNESCO is Intergovernmental Committee for the Protection and Promotion of the Diversity of Cultural Expressions. So I don't think anyone is surprised that this current government is funding UNESCO, because all we hear from this current government is about diversity and how it's greatest strength. And we say, no, unity should be our greatest strength. And there is the Canadian Commission for UNESCO. It's a UN educational, scientific, cultural organization, everyone. So let's just go through some of the funding. I think a lot of people know this. In 2015, the current government committed 2.65 billion of our tax dollars to climate change in developing countries. And that was over 6 years, everyone. 2.65 billion on top of the foreign aid that I just closed. And it should be noted, the previous government, the Harper regime, committed to the same climate change in developing countries, 1.2 billion over 3 years. So it was actually basically the same amount if you do the math. The current government is over 6 years. The previous government was over 3 years. So it doesn't matter which establishment party you put in. They're still supporting climate change in developing countries, everyone. And then let's look here. In 2016, there was $25 million to the UN Relief and Works Agenda for Palestinian Refugees. And that's very troubling because this agency agenda for Palestinian refugees has been tied to terrorism, everyone. And that was in 2016. And we saw this. There was $650 million to UN-related organizations promoting sexual and reproductive health and rights of women. And that was over 3 years, everyone. And that's in developing countries as well. And what's disturbing about that money is that the sexual and reproductive health and rights agencies, organizations, have ties to the Crooked Clinton Foundation, everyone. That's very troubling. And then there's this global fund. The current government committed $804 million of your tax dollars, everyone, to fight AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, and again, that's in developing countries. So all this money is flowing out of our country while our seniors, many of them are in poverty, our veterans are struggling, our youth are struggling, we have growing unemployment. And then there was the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. The current government gave, I think it was $25.6 million over 5 years. And this was for a 1% voting share. So what's going on with this Asian infrastructure investment? What's going on with that? Why is our government using our tax dollars to invest in Asian infrastructure? So you got to ask your questions about that, everyone. And then there was over $20 million to various international organizations. There was $1.6 billion of your tax dollars to aid Iraq, Syria, and impacted neighbors. $1.6 billion, everyone, on top of the foreign aid. And then there was $5.6 million to the UN Population Fund. And this is something the U.S. government pulled out of under Obama. And this UN Population Fund is about abortion and sterilizing people, everyone. And our government is funding that at $15.6 million. And then there was $2 million to help increase the number of women in peacekeeping. $21 million to help increase the number of women in UN peacekeeping. Meanwhile, our Canadian people, many of them are struggling. $6 million to some unknown reforms at the UN, and $15 million to a new trust fund. And I think this was connected to $600 million committed to the UN Trust Fund on sexual exploitation and abuse in developing countries. So you can see all this money is flowing overseas, everyone. It's all flowing overseas. Meanwhile, we're going steeper into debt, deeper into debt. The federal debt is over $657 billion. The market debt of the federal government now is over $1 trillion. Yet they're sending all this money overseas to help other people while they're ignoring so many Canadians in need. This is wrong, everyone. And what you're seeing here through the UN is pure global world order. It doesn't matter which which of these globalist establishment parties are in power. They will continue this agenda. This is about serving the global world order. It's not about serving you, the Canadian people. This is all wrong, and we will change this. Like we said, we will pull back all this voluntary funding, everyone. And all what will be left is the regular budget contribution, which is 1.8 million basically every 2 years. And if the Canadian people want us to pull out of that, we will pull out of that. And just to put this in context, between 2014 and 2016, Canada averaged around 2.3 billion sent overseas, and that was to over 53 multilaterals connected to the UN. That was 2.3 billion over that 2 years. That's where a lot of your money's going, everyone. Very, very disturbing. I'm going to shift now to the equalization payouts. I want to bring everyone up to speed on this. It's very concerning too. Just so everyone knows the background on the equalization payouts, they were legislated in 1957 by the establishment conservatives. They're basically a raw welfare socialist handout. We call them a welfare hand down. They're basically just handing out money. And the way we look at it, they're basically a bribe to Quebec to keep them in Confederation, everyone. That's how we view it. We believe this was a very ill-conceived idea by the establishment conservatives. And unfortunately, it's been perpetuated to the present day. And the establishment parties have no interest in doing anything about this very bad idea that is hurting our country, hurting our people. What makes this worse? Excuse me. What makes this worse, everyone? In 1982, under Pierre Trudeau and all the rest of the establishment who supported what he was saying, for the 1982 Charter, in Part 3 of the Charter, there's a section called Equalization and Regional Disparities, Section 36.2. So these equalization payouts were actually written right into the Charter, everyone. And I'm going to read here, and this is what it says. The Parliament and Government of Canada are committed to the principle of making equalization payouts to ensure that provincial governments have sufficient revenues to provide reasonably comparable levels of public services at reasonably comparable levels of taxation, everyone. Go look it up yourself. In the Charter, Section 36.2. Isn't that terrible? This ill-conceived idea was written right into the Charter, everyone. And we want that Charter amended. We want this taken out of the Charter. That's one of our constitutional amendments of the National Citizens Alliance. And what makes this worse is you, the Canadian people, had no say on the Charter. No say whatsoever. So to understand the equalization payouts, in 1957, 139.1 million was initially distributed, and in present day dollars, that equates to 1 billion. And now in 2015, that equates to 13.6 billion. So the equalization payouts have just expanded, everyone. And in 2014 and 2015, 6 provinces received these socialist welfare handouts. I call them hand-downs. 6.7 billion were dispersed between Manitoba, Quebec, Ontario, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and PEI. Newfoundland, Saskatchewan, Alberta, British Columbia did not receive a single hand down. Quebec and Ontario accounted for around 70% of equalization payouts, I think, over the history of them. And here's some disturbing numbers, everyone. In 2016, 2017, Quebec received $10.03 billion. $10.03 billion, everyone. Manitoba, $1.736 billion. Nova Scotia, $1.722 billion. New Brunswick, $1.708 billion. Ontario, $2.3 billion. PEI, $0.38 billion. And now we look at 2018, 2019. Quebec is going to receive $11.732 billion. $11.732 billion from the so-called have provinces. British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Newfoundland. And then in 2018-19, Nova Scotia received $1.933 billion. New Brunswick, $1.874 billion. Ontario, $0.963 billion. PEI, $0.419 billion. So we believe that these equalization payouts are highly flawed, everyone. As we said, we believe it's a very ill-conceived idea, and we do not support the current structure of these equalization payouts. The basic flaws in this idea is it's a socialist welfare hand-down. Provinces are given money for doing nothing, for not producing. They're being rewarded for not producing, everyone. This is ultimate socialism, counterproductive socialism, everyone. It creates a cultural dependency on the have provinces, while at the same time it penalizes the productive provinces. Also, there's politics involved in the calculations of the equalization payouts. And I'll give you an example. When Quebec sold its hydro, that revenue was not accounted in the equalization payouts. So there's politics in the actual amounts that are paid out. And I think what's really insulting to people in Alberta is Quebec basically blocked the Energy East pipeline. Yet it's receiving this year in $11.732 billion, and a lot of that money is coming from Alberta. You know, it's like smacking the hand that is feeding. And this is all wrong, everyone. This is all wrong. They're taking money from Alberta, and yet they're kicking Alberta in the teeth, everyone. Let's call it out. This is hypocrisy. This is completely unfair. It's something we don't support. And meanwhile, we're dependent on millions of barrels of Saudi oil, everyone, coming into Canada. And there's politics involved in that through the Irving refinery in the East Coast. And there's stuff going on behind the scenes there, everyone. And we see how Saudi's treating us now, and yet we're dependent on their oil. This does not make sense. The National Citizens Alliance supports an energy-independent Canada. We want refineries in Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and anywhere else where they're needed. And we believe we need to utilize our non-renewable resources to the maximum. Oil, gas, diesel is not going anywhere, everyone. So what we want to do with with the equalization payouts, we need to correct the ill-conceived idea that that has been going on for decades and decades and decades, everyone. We want to restructure the equalization payouts so they're based on productive output. So we would set benchmarks for the have-not provinces to produce in order to receive. And that will be the basic model we will use to restructure them. We will not allow any have-not province to block any national energy products without repercussions, including reduction in these equalization hand-downs. Also, we will encourage greater self-sufficiency from the have-not provinces, greater production. So one possible scheme that we're looking at is using these payouts to stimulate entrepreneurs and business growth in the have-not provinces, which in turn will create jobs, more tax revenue, which can be used to pay for social services and healthcare in these provinces. And I want to thank you, everyone, for listening tonight. Give us your feedback on these suggestions tonight. Let us know how you're doing. And if you support our agenda, please donate to us. In order to take on these globalist parties in Ottawa, we need to match them with funding. So we need Canadians across the country to open up and support us if you believe in us. Volunteer. Become a voting member of our party. Fill out the declaration form. Get it in. Also, consider running in 2019. We need to drain these globalists out. As we showed today, they are destroying our country. Look at the foreign aid I went through tonight. Look at the UN, the money flowing out of our country while our people are in need. Look at these equalization payouts. These payouts are harming our country. They're causing those who are not productive to be even less productive while they're penalizing the productive. This is all wrong, everyone. This is all wrong. And thank you very much for joining us tonight. And we look forward to looking at your comments and responding to them. And by all means, give us a call at 1-833-822-8330 or send us an email at info@nationalcitizensalliance.ca. And send us an email and we will respond to all the comments and suggestions. And make sure you mail in the declaration forms. And I want to thank you for joining us tonight.